What up, AOK Mafia? It's your boy Artofkickz, and just like that, we back with another one. Alright, y'all, so time for some dark matter. My favorite kind of matter. On the show Flash, that is, but we got a channel here, Dark Matter, and we got a video. The video is titled 4 Scary Mysteries That Have Finally Been Solved. Whew, hallelujah, because I'm tired of watching these videos. No, I'm not. That, these mysteries go unsolved and these crazy cases just, have a wild person on the loose and you don't know who did it or why. Maybe why, but no, you don't know why. Anyway, we're about to get into this video. Y'all boys, girls ready? I'm ready. Let's go. Shout out to Kaiso Mar, feel like a hype beast.
An unsolved mystery is usually quite chilling, yet sometimes the resolution can be far worse.
What you mean?
So, from the woman murdered by her alternate personality,
what?
To a person raised by a serial killer.
Oh, snap. You never think of that, do you? Somebody being raised by a serial killer. And how does someone get murdered by their own alter ego? Like, ain't that yourself? Did you do it to yourself?
Join us. In 1986, 5-year-old Lisa Jensen was abandoned by her father, Gordon Jensen, at a trailer park in California. Fortunately, one of the local families found and adopted her, with the girl revealing that she'd been viciously abused. Because of this, the family contacted authorities, who were able to track Gordon down over the next 2 years. However, after he served 18 months of child abandonment, he skipped parole and vanished once more. Then, 12 years later, in 2007, police arrested Lawrence Vanner for murdering and dismembering his wife, Yoo Soon-jin. For the next 8 years, he served a portion of his life sentence, before dying in 2010. Bizarrely though, fingerprints revealed he was Gordon, and that he wasn't really Lisa's father. This startling discovery led Lisa to launch an investigation into her personal heritage, through which she was able to determine her real name was Dawn Buden, and that she, then an infant, and her mother, Denise, had disappeared in 1981 in Manchester, New Hampshire. Eerily, this was close to Allenstown, a place that had been the site of the Bearbrook Unsolved Murders, in which 4 people were killed between 1977 and 1984, then left in metal drums near Bearbrook State Park. Further, DNA showed that Gordon was the father of one of the Bearbrook victims, whilst witnesses identified him as the same person Denise was dating when she went missing. To police, this confirmed that he was the so-called Chameleon killer. At the time of the murders, he'd referred to himself as Bob Evans, though his real name was Terence Peter Ramson. Terence was a Navy dropout, and had abruptly left his wife and 4 kids in December 1974. After this, he drifted around various states, killing his various victims before changing his alias and starting the process again. Eventually, he'd met Denise, and after apparently abducting and killing her, he surprisingly let Dawn live. For the next 5 years, Terence had then raised the infant, changed both their names, and finally come to work at the trailer park. Still, why he chose to spare Dawn continues to remain a mystery.
That's crazy, for real. Why he choose to just raise the child that's not even his? The freak.
In 1975, 7 days after giving birth at Edinburgh's Hospital for Sick Children, Lydia Patton was told that her newborn son, Gary, had sadly died. However, when she asked to see him, she was shown a child's body that she was certain wasn't hers. This baby had blonde hair and was big for a newborn, whilst Lydia's was dark-haired and tiny. Her objections though were refuted as a case of postnatal depression, and she was forced to continue with the funeral. Yet as Lydia carried the small coffin of her baby boy, she noted how light it was. This further anomaly led her to conclude that something was being covered up. As such, for decades afterwards, she fought to find the truth, but only recently has a portion of the reality come out. Now 69, Lydia finally won her battle to exhume the coffin. To her shock and horror though, instead of a baby, she found a shawl, a cross, and a name tag with Gary's name spelt wrong. Because of this, Lydia is firmly convinced that her son was one of the victims of organ retention. If true, it wouldn't be the first time. In 1999, the NHS was forced to admit the widespread practice After an investigation at Alderhay Hospital in Liverpool, they found that between 1970 and 2000, around 6,000 organs and tissues had been illegally taken, many from infants. Meanwhile, others have contended that the practice could connect to the black market, whilst even more far-out ideas offer the notion that there is an element of cult activity involved.
Wow.
Still, even if these parts are true, the fact that numerous hospitals stole multiple children's organs without permission is certainly disturbing.
Extremely disturbing. You have this person here that's excited about giving birth to a newborn child. They've carried this child in their womb for 9 months. Excited to welcome this bundle of joy into their life, and you, unbeknownst, decide to take this infant child's organs. And tell the parents that they lost their child. Wow. Evil. Evil.
On June 8th, 1989, in the quiet Vancouver suburb of Richmond, the body of 44-year-old nurse Cindy James was found in the yard of an abandoned house. Her hands and feet had been tied up behind her back, and a black stocking had been tightened around her neck, yet an autopsy found she died from a morphine overdose. Even stranger, another coroner concluded that Cindy had died from an unknown event. This was a perplexing end to a perplexing case.
Yeah.
From November 1982 until the month she died, Cindy had received over 100 threatening and mysterious phone calls, along with a number of bizarre notes that appeared at her door. At the same time, her porch lights were smashed and her phone line severed, whilst on 5 occasions she was violently attacked. The first time occurred in January 1983, when Cindy's friend Agnes Woodcock dropped by the house for a visit, only to find her crouched down outside, with nylon stocking around her neck. After this, Cindy moved to a new house, painted her car, and changed her name. She also hired private investigator Ozzy Caban. On January 30th, 1984, Ozzy heard strange sounds over a two-way radio he'd given Cindy and went to her house. Finding the door was locked, he looked through the window and saw her lying on the floor with a knife stabbed through her hand. Bizarrely, in hospital, Cindy recalled being attacked by one person, then in other interviews, by 2 or 3. Because of this, authorities became skeptical of her story, especially because she was reluctant to offer details on her alleged attackers.
What? Why?
As such, Cindy told her father she would confront the perpetrator herself. However, on May 25th, 1989, she disappeared. The same day, her car was found in a neighbour's parking lot, with blood discovered on the driver's side door. Then, 2 weeks later, Cindy's body was found. One prominent theory to explain her mysterious death is that she was harassed and eventually killed by herself, or at least another personality. Though it might seem ludicrous, it would explain much of the case. A brief recording, meanwhile, taken from one of the phone calls, sounds like a woman imitating a heavy male voice.
It did sound like that. Dang. It did sound like that. It did sound like she was... it sounded like a female imitating a male's voice. And she's like, Cindy. Dead meat sin. Maybe she did have an alter ego or 2 personalities. She had split personalities. And the one personality offed the other one, which essentially takes out both of them. So this is interesting. This case is being considered as a murder instead of a suicide. That's crazy.
On April 15th, 1990, Ray and Marie Fortin were heading out on their routine Sunday drive near Coldwater, Michigan, when a speeding van suddenly accelerated past them.
Watch out.
Around half an hour later, they noticed the same van parked by an abandoned church. and disturbingly saw that the driver was carrying a bloody sheet. Now obviously alarmed, the couple drove on, debating whether or not they should return to the scene. Yet before they could make a decision, the van appeared behind them and aggressively rode their bumper for the next 3 miles. Finally, Ray turned off the highway, whilst the van pulled off to the side of the road. Still, despite this scary experience, the couple remained curious, and as the driver changed his license plates, the pair drove back to the church. There they looked around for signs of the bloody sheet, and eventually they found it in a recently unearthed animal hole. At this point, Ray and Marie called the police. For the next couple of days, the identity of the driver remained a mystery, before police concluded it was Dennis Depew, and that the body in the bloody sheet belonged to his wife, Marilyn. For 18 years, the two had shared a violent marriage, until their divorce was finalized.
Look at this dude, bro. Have you ever seen somebody take a picture like this? This dude look like pure evil. He's like, yeah. He looks evil, bro.
In December 1989. However, despite Marilyn changing the locks, Dennis routinely broke into their old house, and on one occasion, after an argument, he pushed her down the stairs and proceeded to beat her. Then, after the eldest of the couple's 3 children, Jennifer, had run to her neighbours for help, Dennis had shot Marilyn, and believing he was alone, had attempted to bury her body by the church, only to be observed by the Fortons. Still, he remained on the run, and for weeks had evaded police. Concurrent to this, a woman known only as Mary arrived at her home in Dallas, Texas. There she was met by her boyfriend, Hank, who told her he had to leave soon because his mother was sick, and asked her to make him some sandwiches for the trip. Mary then sat down to watch the popular 90s documentary series Unsolved Mysteries, and was shocked to see that Hank was actually Dennis. Immediately she called her friend, who in turn contacted authorities and gave them Dennis's license plate number. Sometime after, state troopers spotted the number and attempted to pull the van over. Dennis still refused to go without a fight, and led police across a 15-mile high-speed chase, until deputies eventually managed to shoot out his back tires. Still, he wasn't finished, and fired 3 shots at officers, before finally, he turned the gun on himself. So that was...
Y'all, it's crazy. I love how this story's been covered, and, you know, somebody made like a short of it to kind of give you an idea of what happened and give you visuals so that you can kind of piece that together that much better instead of just kind of coming up with it in your head. So it was already, you know, being publicized back then. Very fascinating. Very, very fascinating. Man, these stories are crazy. This dude did not want to be caught under any circumstance, so he offed himself. Well, he must have known that he was going to be put under the jail anyway. So y'all know what time it is. Like this reaction, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. Stay tuned for more. As always, the link to the original will be down in the description box below. If you haven't already, make sure you follow your boy on the gram and Twitter at Artofkickz. And I'm going to catch you guys in the next one. See ya.